So over the years of living and working in the Netherlands, as an American, there are just so many things that I have noticed and I've learned. Which is crazy because once you see these things, you just can't unsee them. Which brings me to the point of there are just so many more things that we could all learn from the Dutch. All right, so now one of the things that I'm really big on is taking accountability for your actions. Like if you mess up, just say you messed up and move on. But I'm not even gonna lie, man. When I was in the States, people have a really hard time taking accountability. I mean, and you see this a lot, like with everything, especially with like politicians and work. Now, I don't mean it in like a economic sense, but I do mean it in a sense of like, when you mess up at work, it's someone else's fault. Like, it's not yours. Even though it was your project and everything, it's still somebody else's fault. And something that I have noticed is that, especially when it comes to work at least, the Dutch do take accountability. Like, they love taking accountability for their actions. And it's just cool. Like, there's nothing like, there's not a big deal about it. You just say you messed up and you do better. And yeah, man, I noticed the Dutch are just so good about it that it made me start realizing that I do sometimes make excuses, but they're like micro excuses, meaning like I think the last excuse I made was I was working on a project and completely, like I was just so focused on this project and trying to get it done because it was the top priority that I kind of let something else slip. And so I would say, oh, you know what, that's my bad. I was really focused on this project. Versus it's like, when I notice some of my other colleagues or some of the other people that I work with, they're just kind of like, you know what? I'll get to it. That's my fault. And me personally, I like this approach. I like that approach a lot better. Only because it's just like, it cuts through all the BS and you're just like, okay, I'm gonna get to it. That's my bad. And now ever since I realized I was doing these like micro excuses, I have been trying to be better and just direct. Like, just cut through it and just like, you know what? That's my bad or my fault. I'm getting to it right now. So I do have to say, I think this is actually a great trait or great habit to have, especially in your profession, like your career. This is like, I mean, whether it's business or even with your personal life, I think this is great. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Also, I did talk to a couple of my friends about this, a couple of my Dutch friends about this. And they said, yeah, I mean, like literally when I asked about it, she legit just said, yeah, I mean, why not? Why not just say you messed up and move on and be better? And now something that's a huge trip is that in the States, for example, it is normal to work overtime and it's even praised if you work on the weekends. But here, it's the complete opposite. Like I remember I like just logged on because I was waiting for a show to come in. I was waiting for like 2 weeks for the show to come in and I didn't want it to air late. The show came in, I checked it on a Saturday or Sunday or something. I went ahead and approved it, checked it, approved it, and man, I got so much heat for this. As a matter of fact, people are actually happy when I leave on time as well. Like it is look, I'm telling you, it is a trip. So a couple of months back, I met up with one of my good Dutch friends who I do play dates with. And I told him this exact thing and how like the reaction that I got from it, right? And he legit told me, and I never thought about this. He just straight up told me that there are 2 reasons why it looks bad to work on weekends and work overtime. He said, 1, it looks like you're bad at time management, and 2, it also can make your team look bad. Now he did say it's not like people don't do this, but they only do it if they have to. And when I thought about this, I was just like, huh, that makes sense. Man, this reaction is so different from what I'm used to back in the States. Like, it is like you are expected to almost work overtime. And then when you work over the weekend, it's like, oh, you worked over the weekend. Like, good for you working over the weekend. But in my honest opinion, I like the Dutch way. I like the thought. Like, it makes so much sense when you think about it. And I look, not for nothing, I don't have a hard time taking accountability for my actions. But the next one I do have a hard time with, and that is separating work from life. And I'm not even joking. The Dutch are extremely good at this. I mean, I even read a book. This was like 10 years ago. I read a book called The Power of Concentration or something like that. I know it was something. And they talked about when you're working, and when you're playing, meaning there should be a separation for working and your life. And look, from my opinion, the Dutch have this concept down. What is the street sweeper doing out? What is going on here? Look, that's all that noise, that street sweeper right over there. And look, man, I am dead serious. The Dutch are so good at the whole work when you work and play when you play. Like something that I didn't even realize, but then started to pick up on was that every time I would talk or meet a Dutch person or talk to just a friend that I know, they never, like it's super rare that we talk about work. That's like the last thing. Sometimes we don't even talk about it. And now look, I know a lot of people who are watching is probably like, well, why would you even want to talk about work if you're just hanging out? Look, this is very normal thing. Like it's a very normal thing to do in the States. And I'm not gonna even lie, that's like pretty much for the most part, all you talk about is what's going on at work. And now it took me a while to realize this, but as I started to like pay attention to the conversations I would have with other people here, I would say work maybe, I would say it's like 1% of the conversation if we are not at work. Even then, I'm the 1%, I'm the guy who's bringing it up. And I'm just bringing it up out of habit because it's like, I'll like see a pause, like I'll hear a pause. I'm like, okay, well, how's work going? What you working on? I do think it's healthy to separate work from your life. I 100% agree with that. I mean, unless you grinding, like when I'm grinding though, I'm grinding. But then when I'm chilling, I'm chilling. And what I notice is too, when you do this, you're not tying your self-worth to your job. And low key, it took me a long time to understand that, but I am trying to be better about it because I do agree with this. I am more than just my job. I'm just super safe. And I do want to make myself clear here because I'm not specifically talking about work-life balance. I am talking about when you're working, and when you're playing and living your life, you're playing and living your life. I mean, just the separation of the two, not the work-life balance. Even though I have heard that a lot of people do have good work-life balances, but I know a lot of Dutch people who don't. I mean, they work just as hard as I do. Okay, then, and I did forget to say that this is not a diss track. This ain't a diss track towards America or the Netherlands or the Dutch or Americans. So if you do have an issue with anything I'm saying, or if I'm wrong, then just pull up in the comments. Y'all know I could be wrong sometimes, so just pull up. But also too, if you like this video, this will be a good time for you to hit that subscribe button. I'm just super saying. Okay, quick side note, I walked right past this and like, man, look at how pretty this looks, man. Come on, pimp, like pull up. Like look how nice this looks, man. And now, man, this next one is special because it's something I really, really appreciate. And it is, I am learning more from the Dutch of like the importance of just being outside. I mean, look, if you could not tell, I love being outside. And what's crazy is I recently learned that being outside, like, in the States means something completely different than being outside everywhere else in the world. Like being outside in the States literally means going out and going shopping, spending money, going clubbing, stuff like that. It always involves spending a large amount of money. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just being outside. And now look, don't get me, ooh, I put y'all in a tree up there. My bad. But don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the Dutch don't pull up and go shopping and spend money out. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is you will notice like a clear difference between like the Dutch and Americans when it comes to spending time outside. Actually, just Europe in general and Americans. Like when they hang out outside, they're just kind of enjoying the life and they're taking everything in versus you can't, like, it's not well known in the States. This is something that I had such a huge culture shock when I first moved here. That's all I talked about was just how are people outside every day? Like, come on, like every day. And I still remember the first time I talked about it in a video 3 years ago, someone in the comment, a Dutch guy, commented how he feels like Dutch people are not outside enough because when he travels to other parts of Europe, they're outside more than the Dutch. And now this is actually perfect. What we're seeing right now is actually perfect for this part of this video because this is actually a food truck festival today. I mean, I think it started today and it's going on throughout the entire weekend. But come on, man, that's what I'm saying. Like, look at all those people over there. Like, come on, and it's a Friday. I gotta go back to work in like an hour. And they outside hugging the block. And now, don't get me wrong though, I did take a late lunch today, but I'm just saying, like, you can hear the music going, there's food trucks set up, there's people everywhere over at the park. This is like, it is a real thing. Going outside is something that I've learned to appreciate. I mean, I love being outside. So just seeing a bunch of other people loving to be outside too, and I'm not the only one outside, because that's how I was when I was in the States. I was just mostly outside by myself. And granted, I'm mostly talking about when, like, as I got older, but yeah, like adults just don't go outside like that when, like, in the States versus here. And yeah, this is something that I've noticed that the Dutch value a lot. And it is such a good thing to value. Like, that's what I'm saying. I get it. I see why the Dutch value being outside. Okay, now quick side note though, this food truck festival that's going on at this park right over here, this happens every year. I go to it every year. Me, my wife, and my kids, we go every year, and I love it. I meet a lot of good friends. I actually meet a lot of good people here. A lot of Dutch people here as well. I mean, obviously, but but yeah, this is just something that, like, it is really nice. I do think they had one in LA, something similar, but I'm not gonna lie, I think this one a little bit better. Like, and the reason I think this one's better is because I do think usually at events and things, I've noticed that as I've gotten older, especially when I was living in LA, I noticed that people are more on edge, which brings me to my next point. And that is that the vibe here is completely different than in the States. Like, people are not on edge here like in the States. And now this edgy feeling, this vibe that you're getting when you go to the States, it's mostly due to fear and just being scared of just going out or being around other people. And now it took me a long time to figure that out, but that's pretty much what it is. And it makes sense in the sense of, like, in the sense that that's all people think about. All people think about is the division between the country. I mean, you're hearing it in the conversations that people have. You're hearing it on the news daily. You see it in what people watch. It's freaking everywhere. And it's sad too, because that's not the reality. I'm just being real. That is not the reality. But again, it's everywhere. I mean, everywhere you go, there's a new problem. Everywhere you go, people are talking politicians. If they ain't talking about work, they're talking about politics. And when you look at the news, well, the news is not really news. It's not really informative. All it's doing is they're just pretty much just pumping fear onto people who watch it. And now look, I want to be clear too. I'm not saying to be a Care Bear. I'm not saying that. I am saying though, everyone around you isn't against you, but that's what's being sold. Everybody around you isn't out to get you, or they're not your enemies, but that's what's being sold on a daily basis. I'm selfish. See you later, man. And you know what I started to understand is that I don't think anything's gonna change unless the media changes. That's what I realized. I'm telling you, because I think the media in the States is a huge problem. It has been for years. And I just think now it's just getting out of hand though. And honestly, living here for so long and interacting with other people at work or in my personal life, it really shows the difference between being on the edge and being like just literally just being free and living your life. Like, I'm dead serious. Like, it is so different. I'm just being honest. People here, I mean, the Dutch they're just living their life. The reality of it all is that we need each other. Like, I don't understand how people just don't see this for themselves, but we need each other. At the end of the day, it don't matter. Like, we need each other. I have noticed some division in the Netherlands too, but it's just nowhere near the extent as the States. Like, it is just so extreme in the States. It's like ridiculous. This division has gotten so bad that something terrible could happen that everyone agrees is wrong. But then they'll argue about why it's wrong and who to support, whose side they should be on in support of it being wrong. And that's like think about what I just said. Like, it's wrong, but they'll still argue about it and how it's wrong. Versus here, I get the sense of, like, if same situation happened, something wrong happened, something terrible happened and it was wrong, everybody would just be like, no, this is wrong, we pulling up. But now look, those are just my thoughts based off of the things that I've been learning as oh wow, it's going on 4 years of living in the Netherlands, 4 years. But yeah, I'm learning more and more every day. And I do have to say, the more and more I learn, the more and more I just pay attention to certain things and can't help but see, ooh, come on, we hot, come on now. But yeah, can't help to just compare what I'm used to and what I've learned growing up back in the States. But yeah, I would love to know what you guys think about all this, especially if you're Dutch or American. I would love to know, because I do find it just fascinating on the differences between the two. So yeah, I would love to know what you guys think. Like them comments up down below. But yeah, that is it. I gotta get my booty back to work. Don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe, because we are trying to hit that 100K mark. So like the video and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed it, because I enjoyed making it. I will see you in the next one. For real, like them comments up though, because I would love to know what you guys think. So yeah, see you next one.